Hello, it is producer Luke with a quick message before this week's Wycombe Wanderers show. We were hoping to bring you an interview with Jack Grimmer during the Thursday show. Obviously, this is now the podcast version, so you will hear mentions of that. Sadly, it didn't happen. These things happen. But hopefully we'll be able to talk to Jack, if not next week, sometime soon over the next few weeks. So enjoy this week's show. Over to Bob and Colin.
106.6 Wycombe Wanderers Show.
Good evening and welcome to the latest edition of the Wycombe Wanderers Show. It'll be a good one this evening. We like the club, have been gaining momentum.
We have, yes. No car parking spaces for us, but the club have gained another 200.
Yes.
How exciting.
If that is exciting, then yes.
Well, the car park thing's rumbled on
of course.
Through the Sunderland game and now with Oxford coming as well. Everyone seems to be moaning about the car parking spaces. Not Wycombe Wanderers people.
No.
Like external people.
Yeah.
Even people who've only got a ground that's got three sides. Dear,
yes.
Oh dear, Sort yourselves out before you start moaning about our car parking.
Coming up this week, we'll be reflecting on car parking. No, we won't. We'll be reflecting on that fantastic 3-3 draw in the televised game at Adams Park on Saturday, which, of course, built momentum. You can never build too much momentum, can you?
That's very true.
For the rearranged trip to Bolton.
Yes, and what a rearranged trip it was. Even though there were problems on the M6 and some fans only just managed to get there.
That was like a car park.
Yeah, it really was, yes. But anyway, but we came good. A 2-0 victory, made even sweeter by the fact that Sunderland also lost 3-1 at Lincoln City on the same evening.
Yes, that did work well. Now, just a point off the top of the table. We'll hear from Joe Jacobson, from manager Gareth Ainsworth, speaking after both games. We were going to play you a recorded interview from Jack Grimmer, who scored, of course, his debut goal on Tuesday.
But we've got something better than that, because he's actually going to join us live.
So we'll catch up with him later this hour. Very much looking forward to that. And we'll speak to former striker Keith Searle as well, who was part of a number of title-winning sides, also featured in the 1975 third-round FA Cup 2 ties, as it's known.
2 ties against Middlesbrough.
2 ties Middlesbrough. Some fantastic memories from him. Really looking forward to that. So a really good show in prospect.
Yes, it's going to be a great one. Award-winning.
Potentially, yeah. At least award-nominated, you'd like to think.
Yes. We're already going to submit it as soon as 8 o'clock comes round.
So yeah, let's look at Sunderland, which was obviously a juicy encounter in the first place when you're playing a team so high on the table and fellow promotion chasers.
And slightly wet as well.
Yeah, it's very wet.
And just, what a fantastic game. What a super game of football. Really, really enjoyable. Looked like, yes, it was going to be heartbreak for us, but no. Joe Jacobson coming up right at the end to ensure. In fact, I mean, it was the Joe Jacobson show, wasn't it? Because not only did Joe score, but he also had the amazing overhead kick to deny Sunderland what looked like an absolute certain goal. I was watching on the TV and I thought, I'd still
such a seesaw game as well.
I still can't really work out how Joe Jacobson did what he did. How so the ball went over Stockdale and Jacobson managed to do an overhead kick and clear the ball away. It was just remarkable.
Well, I don't think you could do it.
No, exactly. But it's one of those things that had a Man United player done it, had it been done on a Super Sunday game, they'd still be talking about it now, and the BBC would have done a poll of top 10 most amazing defensive saves or whatever. But of course, because it's on a 12:30 and it's a league game on the FA Cup third round day, nobody really notices. But it was absolutely breathtaking.
And so many other great talking points from the game as well, with obviously, as I say, a seesaw game.
Yes, yeah, just amazing, really. And you did think, well, yeah, we are again. If we're going to be serious about this going up business, this is a game that we need to get something out of. And for a little while, I was slightly thinking, oh goodness me, but no, we did okay. And to get a point against Sunderland, I think that's, it's so much better than thinking back to the game up at the stadium earlier on this season. And I know I've heard a couple of Wycombe players, and in fact, I think even Jack Grimmer said it, that, that he felt that we were a bit unlucky. I mean, I was at that game at the stadium and you did, we were slightly outclassed that day. And it was one of those times where you thought, oh yeah, it's going to be quite a long afternoon. And sure enough, it was. That's how it looked, obviously on Saturday, with Stockdale's own goal. I mean, unfortunate own goal after 3 minutes. and you were thinking, oh dear, okay, this isn't going to necessarily go away. But, Messi, a fantastic performance, always looked dangerous every time that he was on the ball. Sunderland didn't really seem to know what to do with him and seemed to back off him a few times, which you thought, well, no, actually, that's it. Not that I'm particularly a defensive expert, but that's probably not the thing to do. Sam Vokes, of course, as well, scoring. Then Ross Stewart. Did sound on the commentary like they kept saying Rod Stewart, which conjured up some strange images. But then equalising to make it 2-2 at half-time. And then he obviously scored in the third minute of injury time, just squeaking the ball past David Stockdale. And it was one of those, and I'm going to talk about the Jack Grimmer goal in a minute, where you could see that it was going in all the way. The Ross Stewart third goal on the TV, first of all, when he knocked it past Stockdale, it really looked like it was going to hit the post. And I think probably anyone watching on the TV thought, oh, he's missed it. And then somehow it bended in, a bit like if he'd been a golfer. As if he put a bit of spin on it or something. It was like, oh, no. But yeah, JJ came up with the goods. 90 minutes plus 8.
Very exciting.
In that way that we always have lots of injury time.
We do. Yes, you never leave early, as Gareth will say shortly. We'll hear from Joe Jacobson in a few moments' time, but first, the manager, Gareth Ainsworth, spoke to Phil afterwards.
This team never, ever gives in, never knows when it's beat. The belief in the boys is incredible. I thought we had just slightly the better of the first half. Sunderland definitely had the better of the second half. What a game, and what a finish to it. It's just a fantastic game on TV as well, and chaos before the game, people pulling out, injuries and the COVID situation. I can't really, dissect the game as well as I want to. Some mistakes, some brilliant goal line clearances, a penalty shout. It had all sorts today. But I'm glad to say that the graft and the effort the boys put in, they deserve something out today and they got a point.
It's almost belies belief, this equaliser that comes in. When Sunderland scored, everyone looked at their clock and went, oh, there's 6 minutes to go, and they almost expect the equaliser now.
Yeah, and teams get this once or twice a season. We seem to get 5 or 6 a season of these games. It's crazy, but I'm saying that's testament to this group of boys that I've got, the belief that we can put in them, and the hunger they've got to go back to that championship, in front of the fans. Because today, massive credit to the Sunderland fans. I have to give it, because they were fantastic. They're going to be. They're brilliant. It's a huge football club. They need to get back in them higher leagues. But the Wycombe boys, the Wycombe fans, the Wycombe players weren't overawed. We matched this team, and 3-3. It's a great game. It's a great spectacle. People bill us as this long ball team. Yeah, we'll get the ball forward to the final third, but once we're in that final third, there's no better players than Gareth McClearen and Anis Mehmeti at times on the ball. Brandon Hanlon rolling people, Josh Scowen finding splitting passes. But keep billing us as whatever you want. But I'm really proud of the boys, and I'll bill them as a fantastic side today.
COVID's played its part this week, with Sunderland putting the game into doubt initially, but a changed side as well. Must have been very difficult to prepare for that.
Yeah, and I said before the game, I want to give credit again to Lee Johnson and Sunderland, because they've played the game. They've come out and gone, no, we'll play. We've got COVID cases, but we'll play. They've done it right. They've done it the right way. I'm not saying anyone hasn't, but there's a few rumours going around that people wanted to get to that transfer window. We absolutely respect that massively, and I'm glad that the game was such a spectacle today. It had everything, Ross Stewart's a hell of a player, and he'll go on to huge things in this league, and that was a great learning curve for my defenders. Young defender Chris Farino coming in, TJ DeBar getting his first league minutes. We've got this team now that's developing and growing, and we've got to try and match these fabulous sides, and we're doing that. And I can't wait to Tuesday now. I've just told the boys, get your emotions down and take that 97th minute celebration into Tuesday night away at Bolton, because we need to go again. We need to start picking points up. We want to stay amongst the top teams like Sunderland and your Wigans and your Portsmouth and your Sunderland. There's some fantastic teams in this. Charlton, Wigan. It's an ex-Premier League. To be in it is brilliant, and to be at the right end of it, it's even better. Thank you, boys. Dobbo missed out today. He gets the boring 1-0, so I get the 3-3s, which is crazy. But I think he'll have been jumping around the living room just like I was last week as well.
I was about to say, you looked a bit lonely on the touchline today.
Yeah, I was a little bit. Sam Grace has stepped up and Lee Harrison is always there. But it was great. And do you know what? Recently we lost a couple of fans, Lena and David Robertson, and that really, puts things in perspective. And Dave Robertson, the director of football when I took over, he signed JJ. So how apt is that JJ gets that equaliser? I'm sure that he'll be doing somersaults up there somewhere, and his family were here as well to see that. So, and Elena, who was in the terracing with the shouters and the singers who really came through today. So, and for everyone we've lost last year, that's a little bit back for them as well.
Yeah, it was a fantastic end to the game, and an important equaliser as well with the run of fixtures coming up. Bolton away, Oxford. I mean, this is a fantastic month for Wycombe Wanderers, big games. But how important was that point today in the grand scheme of things?
It will be told at the end of the season, points against the top teams is something I've been speaking about to the boys. We want to be picking points up against these teams that are up and around us, because everyone seems to be at the top, seems to be winning the games that you'd look at and think they should win, but you have teams that are now improving in the January transfer window. Your Shrewsbury's are coming through now, and Bolton signing a few players, and players getting released. There's going to be a different look to this second half of the season, and we all know how quick this goes, so that could be a vital point at the end of the season. But for now, the emotions and the celebrations at the end there are something that will live for a long time. I told Sky TV, get us on more, because that's what you get at Wycombe Wanderers.
And psychologically for Wycombe, that equaliser against a big Sunderland team, the only other defeats this season at Adams Park have been against Ipswich and Portsmouth, two former Premier League teams as well. Psychologically, to not lose to a third big team at Adams Park, how important was that?
Huge, it really is, Phil, and I'd like to say that the fixtures we've played, we've played a lot of the top teams away from home. We've played a lot of the top teams at home now. We've got some more to come here, but I'm really pleased at where we sit right now. I think we've got enough to see the season out, and maybe one or two more can come through the door, but really pleased that TJ DeBar getting minutes today. That's a real step for him, another international coming on, him and Darryl joining in the celebrations at the end. But we'll see where we end up at the end of the season, but no one will ever say that coming to Adams Park is boring. I've told you all, don't ever leave early.
You definitely shouldn't leave early, and Captain Joe Jacobson was man of the match. He also spoke to Phil afterwards.
I said this already this season, death taxes and injury time goals at Wycombe Wanderers, and you're cropping up with a lot of them now.
Yeah, it seems to be a running theme over the years, doesn't it? But I think that sums us up perfectly. I think the game kind of sums us up this season. We've been probably a bit leaky defensively, but always a threat going forward. Scored some goals today. I thought we could have scored a few more as well. And with us and with the gaffer behind us, we'll never give in. We'll never give up. And even when they scored, we looked at everyone's gone, we've got 5 minutes, plenty of time to go and get a goal. And thankfully, we got a little bit of luck at the corner, and it managed to bundle it in and get the draw that I probably think we deserved, even though they had some chances as well.
I've not seen the replay yet. What happened in there?
I was like prime Kevin Nolan trying to be a poacher in the box. Do you know what? I only went in to try and block Ross Stewart from getting a clean header on the ball, and Chris has produced a great header. He's a huge threat from set pieces, and just fell to me, and I kind of just tackled it in with my right foot, which is a strange thing in itself, but I'll take it for sure.
And at the other end of the pitch, there was a dramatic scissor kick clearance off the line as well from you.
Yeah, there's something that we work on. The gaffer always says, following shots, defensively, attacking. Think like a striker. Think about trying to get a goal. And as soon as the shot came in and it came off to Ross Stewart, I just kind of thought, right, I'll get back in and try and help out. And it's one of those that. I probably gambled on it a little bit. If he heads it the other way, it's a goal, and just fell nicely, and I managed to get a little boot on it and go over, and I was probably more pleased with that than the actual goal in the end, because that's stuff that, as a defender we work on a lot, and it's something that epitomises what we're about as well.
It's been a tough week for both teams in terms of COVID. Sunderland had players out, Wycombe had coaching staff out, and possibly Jason McCarthy and David Wheeler as well. How is it preparing for these games?
At the minute, the gaffer spoke before the game and said, we've always dealt with adversity. We say it, we actually do things as well in training. We've had days on dealing with momentum in games and adversity in games, and it's something that we just deal with. We've got a great squad here now. We've got players who can come in at the last minute. Ollie Pendlebury came off the bench. He'd been training this morning and got a call an hour before to say Jason's pulled out. Jason was going to play and pulled out. He wasn't very well before the game, and it's something that we can all adapt to. There's players who came into the starting 11 that may not have been playing, and it's great that they've put on a great performance as well. So it's something as football at the minute, the way it is with COVID and games getting called off, you've got to just deal with what's put in front of you. And today, even though we started a little bit sloppy, I thought we put on a great performance in the end.
And Gareth Ainsworth back in the dugout after missing 2 games. How important was that for you as players?
I've just seen a picture of him giving Lee Harrison a piggyback, or Harry giving him a piggyback. So I think that sums him up. He's been desperate to kind of be involved after the Charlton game. We got him on the FaceTime in the changing rooms, and he was screaming and wooing, and you could tell he was desperate to get back involved. And this week he's been as bouncy as ever, and for him to get that result at the end, I think he was as happy as anyone else.
So a late equaliser today, a win at Charlton, but this is a huge month, January, for Wycombe Wanderers and the top 6. Momentum wise, that was important to get that equaliser.
Yeah, look, we knew before the game that if Sunderland beat us, that's 8 points, and the form that they've been in, it's going to be a huge ask to call that back. But when you get goals like that, you could see the 2 sets of players, the 2 sets of supporters at the end of the game. It was a massive chasm in their feelings, and we've got that momentum now. We just scored a goal, we're on a high, we had a good result against Cheltenham, and little things like that. We wanted to take points off the top teams. We didn't get the win today, but it's another point that stops them going in the right direction. So we've spoke as well about picking up more points against top teams, and we started off with a point today. Like you said, we've got a tough few games coming up, but we've got great spirit and great momentum now, and hopefully we can pick up more on Tuesday.
It really does feel as well that, especially the home form is really, really good.
It really does, yes. Easy to muddle up Cheltenham and Charlton. They both play in red after all, don't they?
Yes, but very different directions.
Yes, that's true. Not like me going to Blackpool or Blackburn, was it, that time? Let's go to Tuesday night then, and the Bolton Wanderers game. A little bit of a struggle on the M6 apparently, but the team and Phil and most of the supporters managed to get there in the end. And it was a good evening was had by all, really. Fairly comfortable in the end, 2-0 win. Brandon Handel scoring after 35 minutes, and then Jack Grimmer after 52. Jack Grimmer coming up live on the Wycombe Sound, or Wycombe Wanderers show on Wycombe Sound in the next 15 minutes or so.
Quite exciting. Thanks, though. Here's Gareth speaking to Phil once again.
We've developed a way of performing and playing around the edge of the box now. It's a great sort of new way of playing, but it's a big result for us, away at Bolton on Tuesday night. These are the games that really mean a lot. Saturday's at home against Sunderland and Oxford. You're going to get your boys up for that, and you're going to get your crowds in. But coming up here, and massive credit to the Wycombe fans who made the trip. I know there's chaos on the roads at the moment, and they'll go home happy. But we needed them, and we needed to make sure that we were really professional in what we did tonight. We know what Bolton's strengths are, and we had to negate them, and I thought the boys carried out the plan really well and limited Bolton really to long balls to the right winger, which we knew would be a target, and how we dealt with that would have been key to the game today.
You made that switch in the second half, responding to Ian Evatt moving Fossey further up the pitch, and earlier in the season there was a 2-goal lead away at Fleetwood where the substitutions made a quick impact, but you were able to negate that today by switching the system.
Yeah, away at Fleetwood I subbed first, and then Simon Grayson subbed second, and he reacted to me, so probably a lesson learned from me, be a bit more patient, and even 10 years in the job, you love learning lessons and you love making things work. But I thought Fossey was a real shining light for Bolton tonight. I thought he was very, very quick, direct. He's going to be a good player, a good young player, and he caused us problems down that right hand side, so we had to adjust to deal with him and to deal with what Bolton were going to throw at us, and we went to a 4 late on, 4-3-1-2 to deal with their shape, and that was to see the game out. And I thought the subs, Curtis Thompson, Darryl Horgan, made a real big impact tonight. Doesn't always happen like that, and don't always get it right, obviously Fleetwood, as you say, but tonight it paid off, and say thank the boys, they were brilliant tonight.
Bolton did have pressure in the game in spells, so you delighted with the clean sheet as well? Yeah, absolutely. Every team's going to get their spell, they sort of gamble then, and they're leaving 1-on-1 and 2-on-2 at the back because they need to come at us, and so teams aren't going to get the spells, but David Stockdale's experience, I don't think there was major trouble apart from when they hit the post right at the end. I thought the first 10 or 20 minutes they had better chances, but again we had a couple of real good chances, Gareth McCleary going through and Brandon before he scored, so really pleasing
tonight. We're really pleased with the boys, and as I say, we have no fit players at home. We've brought absolutely everybody today. With the pandemic, Adam Leathers is made the bench, which again he's a young boy coming in. No minutes, absolutely no minutes. Ollie Pendle will be very limited. TJ De Boer's second game, Chris Farina picks a knock-up, so we've got real limited resources. So again, that's why it's such a big result tonight.
And a real collector's item this evening, a goal from Jack Grimmer, who's first for the club.
I will get everyone to rewind to Wembley when Coventry got promoted, I think, from League 2, and have a look at the goal. I don't think there's too much difference apart from the shirt he's wearing. He only scores left foot top corners, I think, Jack Grimmer, and if I'm honest, it couldn't have come at a better time. It really did ease the pressure, but Jack's been phenomenal. Really, really good player for us, and he knows his job, executes what I ask to the letter, and a great lad to have in the squad. So brilliant goal, and really pleased for Jack.
Big point on Saturday, a win away at Bolton this evening, the perfect platform for a home encounter against Oxford United.
Yeah, the M40 derby, and sorry Oxford fans, I know you'll be shouting at the radio now, but it is, and we can't wait for Adam's part, for them to come down, and obviously it was a real good game at their place. Carl's a friend, and he'll have that team very organised, and they're one of the teams fancied for the playoffs or promotion as well. So get the boys recovered, get back, and we'll be working on Oxford as much as we can over the next few days, hopefully getting some back from injury and pandemic testing, and I'm sure it'll be a great occasion on Saturday.
We've turned the corner now into the new year, and it's the sort of time of year when fans, when they're watching the goals flying in, they're also checking their phones, seeing what's going on elsewhere and the table. You must be delighted to see where Wycombe are, and there's games in hand for those around, but you've got the points on the board. Yeah,
points on the board are always crucial, But Wigan have got plenty of games in hand with us, as well as some other teams after tonight. But as you say, points on the board are crucial. You don't want congestion at the end of the season with Cambridge United fixtures and the FA Cup run they're on. We're going to have those. We don't want any more, so we want to try and get as many points and as quick as we can on the board. But this result doesn't make a season. We've got a big game on Saturday now, and we'll be focusing on that. Highs aren't too high, lows aren't too low, and that's how it'll work.
Online, on Radio Player, and on 106.6 FM. This is Wycombe Sound.
Still to come on the Wycombe Wanderers Show, we will be hearing from Jack Grimmer live.
Yeah, that was well rehearsed, that bit, wasn't it?
It was very well rehearsed. But first of all, talking about Wycombe Wanderers women, I finally worked out that's what I have to call them, and not the L word. So anyway, they lost at the weekend 5-2 against another one of the Abingdons, having played Abingdon United the previous week, when of course they lost 8-1. Although that was a cup match in the league, they lost 5-2 away at Abingdon Town. However, in the little mini league that they are currently in, because they are currently 6th in the Southern Region Premier Division, they are doing okay. They play Eastleigh in the Community. Honestly, that is the name of a football team. Eastleigh in the Community on Sunday away, 3 p.m. kickoff. Eastleigh are currently just 4 points above Wycombe Wanderers women, so a big game for the women on Sunday.
Wish them all the best for that. Now, though, our fantastic regular slot with the Wycombe Wanderers Ex-Players Association. Thanks, as always, to Alan Hutchinson and JDT for setting up these chats, which are fantastic. I thoroughly recommend listening to this one as well, with Keith Searle, who was a striker in the 70s and did pretty well during his time at the club. And here's how it all started.
Funnily enough, I was approached by Mr. John Reardon. I was playing for Wealdstone at the time. And there was a knock on the door, and John Reardon was standing there. I didn't know who John Reardon was, but there he was. And he said he would be interested, if I would be interested in coming to play for Wycombe Wanderers. Now, obviously, I knew Wycombe Wanderers were in the same league as Wealdstone at the time, but I didn't know very much about them. But that's how I came to join Wycombe, and I'm very glad I did.
So what were your first impressions when you first arrived?
When I first arrived, it was very good. I mean, we had a load of players there, which were basically quite local. They had a good local base to the team. But Brian Leake obviously came in as the manager, and he decided he wanted to bring a few more players in and play a certain type of football, which eventually turned out to be very successful. But the base of the team was there through local players and one or two, from Oxford, and then he started to bring, players in from further away who he thought might fit into his way of playing, and unfortunately for him it worked, and for me. Obviously with Mr. Horseman we formed a very good partnership. He knew, it's sort of telepathic really, because, he was just a natural finisher, Tony. You put him anywhere near the box, in and around the box, 9 times out of 10 he will score. But he knew that I was half decent in the air. That's not me saying that, it's other people telling me that, but if the ball was in the air and it was played up to me, he knew that I would try to put him in somewhere around the goal. That's something that's I'm not very impressed with in the Premiership. You don't get many people, strikers, that can head the ball properly. I know it's a contentious thing about heading the ball nowadays with, injuries, brain injuries and that, but you could always redirect the play when the ball's in the air. But I knew where Tony was, and he knew that I was going to put it somewhere near him. So, we formed a great partnership. He scored lots of goals. I gave him loads of assists, but fortunately I scored lots of goals as well. So that was that.
And obviously Steve Perrin as well, someone who you teamed up well with.
Steve came a bit later on, Steve. Very good player, different type of player, worked hard, good goal scorer. But the thing about the Wycombe at that time, Brian Lee got us playing what I call proper football. And we did play proper football, and we was very successful at it. But he had a good blend of local players and people, as I just explained, from outside the area that had to travel to Wycombe to play. But as we became more successful, then you had more players wanting to come, obviously, to come to play for Wycombe Wanderers because they were successful and they did play good football. I bumped into Steve later on. He became a professional with Crystal Palace, and I had moved on to one of my other clubs. You might have heard that I played for several other clubs. The boys still take the mickey out of me. They called me a soccer mercenary because I played for loads of clubs. But I was playing for Enfield at the time, and we played against Crystal Palace, and Steve Perrin was playing for Crystal Palace, and I was playing for Enfield. So, we bumped into each other later on after finishing with Wycombe. So that was interesting.
And did it feel like a real golden era? Because obviously Tony Bodger Horseman went on to create records for the club, and as you say, you between you scored many goals and won titles as well.
Yeah, I was fortunate enough to win, 3 or 4 titles with Wycombe, but then I went on to Enfield and I won 2 titles with them. So I think if you look in the record books, I'm up there with probably the most Ishmael League titles, or someone that's near the most. So I was very fortunate in that respect.
And obviously the 75 season really stands out with the league title and also doing so well in the FA Cup as well.
Yeah, well, that obviously if you talk about memorable games, you talk about the Middlesbrough game, which was excellent. This doesn't happen very often. We played them at home, obviously. They came down. They was top of the old First Division, and we was obviously non-league. And at home, we gave them a good game. Obviously, in the replay, we went up to Middlesbrough. It's a full house, 30,000 people there. Great experience. But we was under the cosh most of the game. Our defence, and particularly John Maskell, played very well that game. And they scored in the last couple of minutes, and we lost the game 1-0. But we came away with our heads held high. But that was a wonderful experience. But also, one of my most memorable games for Wycombe was scoring the winning goal against Dagenham and Redbridge that brought a title to us. That was a 1-0 win at Lokes Park. And I was fortunate enough to score the goal that secured the title for us. That was very good.
So what are your memories of that day?
It was, it was a big crowd there, and we got Dagenham and Redbridge. I think they was third in the league at the time. Enfield who finished second, but we had to beat Dagenham to actually secure the title. And we managed to do that 1-0, but it was a fantastic game. I managed to get the winning goal. I was at the top of the hill. Actually, it was a cross-country shot. And it went in, the goalkeeper was going backwards down the hill, and he couldn't get to it. And it went in the far corner, and that was the 1-0 win, and it was fantastic. So that was another title, and that was just another memory that I relish.
And your display's also in a couple of England amateur caps, which you must be very proud of as well.
Yeah, I mean, when I was a kid, or when I got into it, in the more serious, the amateur game, if you like, there was the amateur internationals, and the FA Amateur Cup, which was played a final, which was played at Wembley. Now, I had two ambitions. One was to play in an amateur cup final, which I never achieved, and the other one was to try and win an amateur cap. I got called up by Charles Hughes for the game against West Germany. And I was called up. I was in the squad. I never started the game, but I came on a sub at half-time. It was 0-0. And I managed to score a goal, and we won that game 1-0. Now, a lot of people can say they haven't played at Wembley, but I can say I played at Wembley and I scored at Wembley. So that was fantastic. My other regret is obviously I didn't win an amateur cup winner's medal. The nearest we got was with Wycombe. We played Hendon in a semi-final at Brentford, and that was probably one of my most disappointing days because we lost that game 2-1, and we didn't quite really play as we was one of the, we was a really good side, but we never actually played as well as we could, and we got pipped 2-1. Johnny Hutchinson scored our goal. But we lost that 2-1, so that was a very disappointing day. And
something else that really comes across with having the opportunity to speak to ex-players from that era is obviously how talented you were as a group of players, but also how well you all got on as well.
I think that reflects right the way through the Wycombe history. I played golf with Vinnie Faulkner and Keith Samuels, two gentlemen. I really respect those two men. But I also play with Les Merrick, Colin Bunting, and Martin Priestley. Now, Les and Colin played in the era before me. But you talk to them about their era, and their teams all got on. Our team all got on. The team after that. And I think this is carrying through into the present-day team. This is a team, I think, watching it, I don't go down there very often, but I watched the game last weekend. Fantastic. But Gareth Ainsworth has got them working as a team. If you love one another in a team and you get on with one another in a team, you're going to run your best. You're going to work your best. You're going to do your best for your mate. If you've got prima donnas in your team that are not doing their fair share of the work, you're not going to get anywhere. And I think this is where Gareth is scoring points, because he's got them as a squad, working as a squad, and they're going to be successful, and which they are being at the moment. That reflects on what Brian Lee and people before him and people after him brought to this club. I mean, I used to take my wife and children down to the football. Now, my wife doesn't like football, funnily enough, but she used to come down because it was like a social gathering. Other wives were there, other children were there. It was fantastic. And, as I say, 50 years ago, I played football with people who now I play golf with. It's amazing.
It's fantastic that you've got that camaraderie and still that relationship to this day.
Yeah. And I think that sets Wycombe apart. I mean, as I mentioned before, I played for several other clubs, and they do get in touch now and again, but it's not the same. My heart, the amount of time I spent at Wycombe, that's where my heart is, and that's where I had my best time, and because I was contented there, that's where I played my best football. I went on to win other titles and that with other teams, but Wycombe was always in my heart.
You must be very proud of your goal-scoring record as well, 124 in 249 games.
Yeah, that's like one every other game, is it? Is that what we like to say?
I think so, yeah.
No, I mean, I'm proud of everything I did at Wycombe, and I'm proud to be in the history books. But I'm also proud of the fact that there's one constant in all of this, and that's the people that watch us. you know. And while we're on the station, I would like to thank those people that supported the team when I played and supported me. I mean, there was other people that didn't like me, but you get, different opinions and everything. But I would like to thank the Wycombe fans that supported me all those years ago and gave me good memories, because there's one constant of a football club, and that is the fans. They're the lifeblood.
And you did get really big crowds in those days.
We did, yeah. Sometimes more than what they get now. And that was fantastic. When Wycombe was full, or Lokes Park was full, it was amazing. The atmosphere was fantastic. And you could always rely on the people of Wycombe to turn up. It was great. Are
there any sort of off-the-field or behind-the-scenes memories that you especially have during your time at the club?
As I said, it was not a social club, but I mean, it was everything. My dad used to come down and watch. My brother-in-law, it was like a big family. It was fantastic. It was just the way the place was run. And because I came, if you like, I came in from a distance to play for Wycombe, the players that were there, local people that played for the club, that played for the club for a few years, they were so accepting. They accepted me, although I might have come from down the road near London, the concrete jungle, and I'd come out to Wycombe. They just accepted me. It was just fantastic.
So tell us a bit about what you went on to do after your time at Wycombe.
Well, obviously I went to play for Enfield for a few years, and then I got a little bit cheesed off, if you like, a little bit fed up with it, and I decided that it was time for me to retire. So I had a break, but then I was getting on a bit. I started playing local football. I started playing at centre-half. And I thought, blimey, if I'd have known it was so easy playing at centre-half, I should have played that instead of playing up front and getting knocked about all over the place. But I played locally, and I actually paid subs to play the game. But yeah, and then I was assistant manager at Buckingham Town for a little while. But I watched my boy play. Unfortunately, he's no longer with us. That's part of life, something that life throws at you that you just have to get on with. And he was quite good. He played for Buckingham Town and Bedford Town, but I used to go and watch him. But apart from that, I didn't do anything, and I just, I play golf now, which is good. I could try and get out with the boys once a week.
And it's so nice that you've got those memories of that time that you can reflect on, and those games, as you say, getting the winner against Dagenham and playing against Middlesbrough as well.
Yeah. Now, all my memories, or majority of my memories at Wycombe Wanderers are fantastic. They'll always be in my heart, and I'm glad I'm part of their history.
I was going to say, do you feel a real kind of part of the foundations of where the club are today?
Yeah, I think so, yeah. As I say, I think through the years, this togetherness has brought them through. You talk to Glenn Creaser and people like that in their era. It was the same. They had the same togetherness. And as I say, I think Gareth is doing this with the present Wycombe team. Their togetherness is going to bring them, good fortune. I reckon they've got a good chance of going back up this year.
No, definitely. They're playing really well. Does it feel like a long time ago, or does it feel like only yesterday?
In my head, it feels like yesterday. My body's telling me it's a long time ago. It feels like a long time ago, but, while we're sitting, especially in these times when we've had the pandemic and we sit here, I can always sit there and I can reflect, and they're good memories, and it's nice to look back. It's nice to look back on the history, and I'm glad to contribute to it.
Well, it's been fantastic to speak to you and reflect on your contribution, and many congratulations on your success during your spell at the club and the goals that you scored and the contribution you did make.
Well, that's thank you very much for phoning me and inviting me. But once again, I'd like to reiterate, the fans are the lifeblood of the club. They're the constant, and I would like to thank them once again for supporting the team I played with, my teammates and me, for supporting me and giving me such encouragement. Thank you very much.
Really nice to hear from Keith Searle and get his memories from those seasons in the 70s.
What an absolutely lovely interview. What a lovely man. Really, really enjoyed that. And just absolutely heartwarming. So nice to hear. So nice to hear what he had to say about the fans as well. And a goal-scoring record of 1 every other game. That's not bad, is it?
No, exactly. And played so many games as well. And so many of those occasions to as you say, remember and reflect on.
Definitely, yes. Hearing him talk about being an England amateur international and scoring against West Germany.
Yeah.
That just fantastic. Really, really good story.
Really fantastic, as you say.
Yeah.
Final part of the Wycombe Wanderers Show on the way.
Online, on Radio Player, and on 106.6 FM. This is Wycombe Sound.
Final part of the Wycombe Wanderers Show, looking ahead to what's set to be a really big game on Saturday. Around 8,000 expected.
A big derby game it is too, with our friends from Headington United or the Thames Valley Royals. Do you remember them?
No. Yes,
that's what they were going to be called when the merger with Reading was going to go through.
Yes. Crazy days.
They're very, very crazy days. But yeah, it definitely is a derby. Sorry, Oxford fans, but it is. And I think also, games cement derby status as well. And the fact that we had the playoff final definitely means that, in my mind, it is a derby. Oxford obviously doing okay at the moment, so they are currently in 6th position in League One, having played 25, so 1 less than us. They've won 12, drawn 7, and lost 6 of their 25 games so far, scoring 40 goals and conceding 27, giving them 43 points at the moment, putting them at level with Plymouth and also the MK Dons. And of course, MK Dons are the next visitors to Adams Park.
Yeah, we heard in the interviews that Phil were doing. It sounds quite a cliche today, doesn't it? But it's a big month.
It is. It's an important time, and I think if we can just stay where we are, if we can stay in that leading pack, then we will be very well positioned to hopefully make a decent bid come the end of the season.
And as well, it just goes to show that with Lincoln winning on Tuesday against Sunderland, then the sort of the league table itself is not really a guide, and anyone can have upsets at any time. Yeah,
so true. And you do wonder, is it going to happen to Sunderland again? Because they do seem to always find a way to conspire to not get out of the division. And it didn't look like that for a while. You did think, oh, okay, yeah, they finally sorted it out this year. But all of a sudden, and I certainly didn't see a loss to Lincoln coming along, you are beginning to think, well, yeah, okay, they might be in a little bit of trouble. But it is that same thing, as always, at sort of like this, maybe not quite this time of the season, but in a month or two or so, whoever puts in that decent sort of like 7, 8, 9 game winning run, I think will probably go up. I think Rotherham might do it as well, personally.
That's your sort of looking ahead.
There is, yeah. I mean, I know Wigan have now got 5 games in hand over us and lots of other teams. I think they're going to be like Rotherham last season. I think that's just going to be too many games to cram into a short space of time. They're still in the FA Cup as well, which doesn't necessarily help them. So yeah, I don't necessarily see Wigan as being the team that are going to get promoted. But Rotherham have seemed to be fairly consistent, whereas everybody else seems to have come and gone during the season.
I was going to say Oxford, comparatively recently, seem to have a decent run of results, get some really positive scores, but then can suffer defeats as well.
Yeah. I mean, this is the thing: is that one of the reasons that we like League One and that we like the Championship, I think they're a better product than the Premier League, is that anyone can beat anyone on any given day, really. And I think we've seen that so often this season. And there's some crazy results that you haven't seen coming. Where Doncaster have beaten teams. Gillingham have got results, although obviously they've just let Steve Evans go. And so yeah, it's by no means guaranteed at all that we're obviously going to get a result on Saturday, but the momentum in the team is definitely going the right way. Ever since the loss to Ipswich Town, things have been going well this month.
And obviously the pandemic playing a real part as well. We've seen in recent games how the manager and Richard Dobson as well has been affected recently, and again mentioning in the interview with Phil there that David Wheeler and Jason McCarthy have not been well, so obviously wish them all the best.
Yeah, I mean it's interesting though, isn't it, that with other teams that we've played, we've had confirmation. And I asked Gareth outright, I think it was before Christmas now, I can't remember. I think it was when we knew that one of the games wasn't going ahead, and I said, have there been any COVID outbreaks? And that straight away, he was very much, we're not going to discuss individual cases, that's a private thing. I find it interesting that we know about him, and we know about Dobbo, and we know about the other members of the coaching staff, the fact that they've actually had COVID. Whereas with the players, it's a little bit more of a vague, Jason McCarthy was taken ill before the kick-off. And I think another sort of almost euphemistic way that it was put was something like, suspected positive test. And you think, well, hang on, we've all taken lateral flow tests. I don't know whether it was lateral flow or PCR, but you can't necessarily have a suspected positive test because that little line is either there or it's not. What were they holding it up to the light and thinking, is that a positive or not? So I find it quite interesting that, that we're being quite aloof about our players' COVID status. No idea why that is, but it appears to be working. Whatever reason that we're doing it. And obviously we haven't had a game called off yet. But interesting that Gareth was saying that with regards to Tuesday night, they were pretty much down to anyone that could play. The fact that Adam Leathers, who appeared in some of the Papa John's games earlier on this season, he was on the bench. Clearly we were getting down to maybe the bare bones. But it's still a decent bare bones to have. The fact that you can go up and beat Bolton Wanderers, that's them, isn't it? The fact that you can go and beat Bolton
any
Wanderers.
Of those teams.
Any of those teams, yes.
And really nice that we heard in the interviews as well the tributes to fans who have died recently, and Alana Herford, of course, who will have a special commemoration, if you like, in the Oxford game as well. On the 29th minute, there'll be a minute's applause. And we also heard a little earlier on that the manager, Gareth Ainsworth, and Pete Cuyig went to David Robertson's funeral earlier on today as well.
Yeah, I mean, we seem to have talked about this too many times this year, and I mean that just in that it is a sad season that we have lost a lot of very important Chairboys fans and members of the Chairboys family, and even the game just gone, so there was the round of applause on 21 minutes to remember all of those who'd passed away in the previous year, but really the club are so good at just remembering and just marking these occasions. They're doing it really well, and again they'll be doing it at the game against Oxford this coming Saturday.
No, definitely, really special. And something else which has happened this week is Rob Cuyig did a webinar to sort of lay out, I guess, for the sort of the plans for the club, which is especially interesting being the transfer window as well.
And I think the interesting thing is that that's the old access to the stadium, which is one of those things that has been really sort of like trundling along ever since Wycombe moved to Adams Park. That has reared its head again, but sounds quite positive actually this time. So very much, yes, they are still looking into that side of things. And I think it's more of a watch this space, and from what I understand as well, also stadium redevelopment was mentioned, but it was very much said that actually there's no point in doing any of that before the access issue is sorted out. But other interesting things, Wycombe TV is likely to be up and running by February. That sounds interesting.
Yeah,
and you think, well, what exactly is that? That sounds more. Doesn't sound like a TV show. That sounds actually like a channel. How long? Is that going to be on all the time? And showing what exactly? Really interesting. They're looking as well with regards to not necessarily redeveloping the stadium, but certain things such as improving the toilets, which I think yes, okay, that's still something that we possibly haven't got Premier League toilets yet. So if we could have that, but very much like the Premier League Wi-Fi, that's absolutely fine.
Yes.
Also like the fact as well that the merchandise was talked about, and I love the way that Missy Cuyig will send tweets about the merchandise. I think that's one of the really sort of heartwarming things is to see that actually our owners are so hands-on that you've got the owner's wife actually being able to tweet and say, oh look, well we still got she sent a tweet earlier on this week saying just to let people know, just warning you, we haven't got many of the calendars left, and the bottles of gin are going quite well. And you think, well, it's great that actually the owner's wife is so involved in the club shop. I know shops are her thing, but really nice to see.
Yeah, definitely. And I guess we should sort of lower our expectations perhaps in terms of arrivals during the January window. Yes,
I think that's that's what we understand, although we have heard something along the lines of, well, you never know about loanees. Has Uchi gone anywhere? I've forgotten to look at that this week.
No, I don't think so, yeah.
No, exactly. So, so he's still around, and you do wonder, well, are we going to have another case of a former Wycombe Wanderer coming back? Would it be Uchi? Might it be somebody else? Alex Samuel? You just don't know. But given that we went to Bolton and we were down to the bare bones, you would think that actually, Gareth would be pleased to have anybody coming through the door that he already knows, that he already trusts. So I do wonder whether we might be seeing somebody that is familiar to Chairboys fans and players as well.
Of course, we heard from him last week talking about how difficult it will be for clubs to, they wouldn't probably let players go out on loan because they'll need the numbers in terms of needing them as backup for COVID cases as well.
Yeah, I think we're seeing quite a lot of that. I think we're also seeing just in the transfer window, it seems to have been a very quiet transfer window so far, and with clubs recalling players just, as you say, almost to make up the numbers. So it's just another one of these crazy times that we're in with regards to football and COVID, isn't it? Hopefully things will eventually sort themselves out and shake down in a way that will be favourable to Wycombe Wanderers. So it'll be lovely to see some of those former players come back and play a part maybe in getting us to get back to the Championship.
Similarly, unlikely to have any outgoings either.
Yes.
Probably for very similar reasons.
Yeah, exactly. I think you slightly hope that as well, in that you don't want players to suddenly look too good at this time of year. We've definitely had that in the past, but I don't think it's anything that we particularly have to worry about at the moment, which I think is a really good thing. And again, a sign of actually how strong and how stable and secure the club currently is, in exactly the same way that seeing the last two Reading results, where Reading lost to Fulham 7-0 on, was it Wednesday night or Tuesday night? And obviously were knocked out of the FA Cup by Kidderminster Harriers. And surely there must be question marks over their manager at the moment. And in times gone by, whenever there have been question marks over, say, the Reading manager, in the same way as those positions at QPR, at Blackburn Rovers, at Preston North End, we've always slightly worried. We all know that Gareth hails from the Reading area of Berkshire, and you do think, well, if that job came up, it might suit him more to be at Reading rather than it would at Adams Park. But at the moment, I don't know about you, but I feel no concern about that whatsoever. I think if Reading were to be looking for a new manager, I can't see that Gareth would say, oh yeah, do you know what, that's a good idea, let's go and join Reading. Given the way things are going, we may well be swapping divisions with them next season.
Exactly, and listening to him speak, you obviously definitely get the impression that he's happy here. He may have had offers, but he's very pleased with the sort of project that he's got.
I think he's a very well-developed and well-rounded human being, in that I think he very much takes things such as family and security and happiness very much, that they are very important to him. He's not somebody who necessarily is looking for the financial benefits from life, and he knows that actually, he's happy at Wycombe Wanderers. He's at the right club. He knows that the owners are very happy with him. He knows that the fans absolutely love and adore him, and that one day I'm absolutely sure that there will be a statue of Gareth Ainsworth somewhere in Wycombe Town Centre. And so he's perfectly happy to remain where he is, and that's really, really good. I'm sure one day, and I said this to him at the end of last season when we sat down and had a long chat, I can't believe that one day he's not either going to go to QPR, or I think probably more likely that he will go to Blackburn Rovers, because Blackburn Rovers clearly are his first love. They were his club. He's from Blackburn. He went to Ewood Park first of all to watch football. I would imagine that one day, he will go to Blackburn Rovers, but I think we're still a long, long way from that.
And just finally, we mentioned how important and key January could be. We've got Oxford coming, another home game at the end of the month as well, as we mentioned, with Milton Keynes Dons, to give them their full name. And also a trip to Morecambe in between that, of course, a 4-3 at Adams Park back in October.
Yeah, I mean, that was a great game as well, wasn't it? And nice day out by the seaside. It'll obviously be a bit cold. But yeah, and that MK Dons game does now seem to be looming quite large as well. It'd be lovely if that could be the end of a perfect January for Wycombe Wanderers, or an almost perfect January for Wycombe Wanderers. Obviously, we didn't beat Sunderland. But, yes, that game does look particularly big. And is one probably, if you were to ask me, I'd say probably is a bigger derby game than the Oxford United game. Sorry, Oxford fans.
And then 5 in February as well, just looking slightly further ahead.
Yeah, I mean, they do come thick and fast. But this is also what I mean about Wigan, is that, you're looking at our fixtures and you think, well, goodness me, there's a club below us that's got to fit an extra 5 games in and are still in the FA Cup as well. I definitely think that they're going to go down the Rotherham route. But yes, 5 in February, Shrewsbury at home, Lincoln away, Cheltenham at home, Wigan at home, Accrington Stanley away. Again, it's not going to be an easy month, but I think we'll get there.
I was going to say, it does seem really positive at the moment, doesn't it? Just a point off the top, as we mentioned.
Yeah, and brilliant. Actually, what we've seen so many times over the years is that we've really faltered over Christmas and the New Year, and it's taken us a while to actually recover. Well, we haven't had that this year. Yes, okay, we had the slight wobble against Ipswich, but other than that, we've done okay, and we're still there, and we're still looking good.
Thank you very much. Apologies we weren't able to bring you our chat with Jack Grimmer this week. Hopefully we'll have him on a future edition of the show.
I was doing my best Jack Grimmer impression, but it wasn't very good, really, was it?
but your goal against Bolton was very good.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I did enjoy that. It was the best one I've ever scored.
Thank you very much. Have a good week and enjoy the game on Saturday if you're going.
Look at that. We've got through the whole show without mentioning dog leads.
Oh
no, sorry.